Welcome to Jamestown Live. I'm Gwen Eiffel, and today, as part of America's 400th anniversary, we're having a conversation about the founding of North America's first permanent English settlement in 1607 in Jamestown, right here along the James River in Virginia. The journey of 3 ships from England changed the world and launched the intersection and interaction of 3 different cultures: the Virginia Indians, Europeans, and Africans. Each helped create the America we know today. You may already know a bit about Jamestown, or maybe you're hearing parts of this history for the first time. Either way, we have lots of information to share, and you can always find out more on our official education website at www.jamestownjourney.org. This is a great resource that you can use all year long with lesson plans and activities about Jamestown. We'll see some of those today. The journey of exploration to Jamestown was just the beginning of the challenges that were ahead, which brings us to our segment on cultural diversity. When those 3 English ships arrived in 1607, there were, as we have learned, people already living in the area, and they're still here today. We commonly refer to these peoples, these first peoples, either as American Indians or Indians, and their ways of life were profoundly altered by the arrival of the Jamestown settlers. Student reporter Will Mann has that story for us.
I'm talking to Stephen Atkins, who's a Virginia Indian and chief of the Chickahominy tribe. Hello, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us today.
It's great to be here today, Will. I love the opportunity to share Virginia Indian history.
So we know that the Indians were already here before the English arrived in 1607.
Yes, they had a very stable culture. They had been here for thousands of years.
And what was Powhatan life like?
The Powhatan Indians, and that's what they were referred to, but there were other tribes other than the Powhatan Indians, but they lived off the land.
Powhatan was actually the father of a certain teenager that we've heard a lot about, right?
Yes, I know you're alluding to Pocahontas, who is very famous. Pocahontas was really a catalyst for the relationship between the Indians and the colonists. She actually served to cement those relationships, and if you look back at the history of Jamestown, without the aid of the tribes, Jamestown wouldn't have survived.
I'm here at the Jamestown settlement inside the recreated fort. There's a lot of activity going on here, and thousands of students are visiting us today. I'm joined by Dr. James Horn, Director of Research at Colonial Williamsburg and author of the recent book, A Land as God Made It. Hello, Dr. Horn.
Hey, Camille. Nice to be with you, and do call me Jim.
Okay, Jim. One of our big questions is, who exactly were these Englishmen that came over?
The leaders were Christopher Newport, who is in charge of the fleet, Bartholomew Gosnold, Edward Maria Wingfield, and Captain John Smith. And the rest of the men were made up of younger sons of aristocracy and gentry, soldiers, laborers, a bricklayer, carpenter, a surgeon, a preacher, and 4 young boys.
Between 1607 and 1619, 3 cultures met at Jamestown. So far, we've discussed the Powhatan Indians and the English colonists. In 1619, a Dutch ship, the White Lion, docked not far from here at Point Comfort, marking the first documented arrival of Africans at Jamestown. All of American history has been shaped by this historic intersection of cultures. Sarah Lee recently tracked down the story on the 3rd culture that left its imprint on Jamestown.
Here to discuss Jamestown's African legacy, I'm joined by Dr. Rex Ellis, Vice President of the Historic Area for Colonial Williamsburg. I understand that those first Africans who arrived in Jamestown weren't actually slaves. Who were they?
Well, we think that they were referred to as the 20 and odd. And we thought at first that they were from the West Indies and that they came off of a Dutch man of war. We now know, because of recent scholarship, that they came from Angola, place called the Kingdom of Congo and the Kingdom of Ndongo. We know that the ship that you mentioned, the White Lion, that it encountered another ship called the San Juan Baptista on the ocean, and they actually boarded it and raided it and got these Africans off that ship and then brought them into Jamestown, and that's how they got here.
Next up, Sierra, in her NASA interview, makes a connection between exploration in space and the English exploration here on Earth.
In what ways is space exploration similar to the exploration of the first Jamestown settlers?
Well, they both had to have transportation. The Jamestown settlers traveled in ships, and they used wind for propellant. Space explorers will travel in capsules, and they'll use chemical propellants. The conditions are pretty crowded for both. The Jamestown settlers took 144 days to get here. Travelers to the moon will take 2.5 days.
The connection of the past, present, and future makes me wonder about what the explorers 400 years ago might have imagined and what lies ahead for the explorers of today. Well, we've just about reached the end of Jamestown Live. We've covered a lot of ground today and very important points with the help of our experts. I've had a great time and hope you've had some fun too. There's so much more to know about Jamestown's unique role in our shared American history. No matter what grade you're in, you'll find great resources at the Jamestown Journey website.